Alcohol and retirement just don't mix well. Leave me some comments, guys. Are any of you having issues with this? I'll give you my own history of this in a second, and also 8 eye-opening facts about alcohol and older adults or people who are in retirement. Yeah, it could be a big issue. So for me, for the last, I'd say 15 years, 10 to 15 years before I retired, I had an issue with alcohol. Wasn't so much I drank and I couldn't stop. Wasn't that. I was dependent on alcohol to go to sleep at night. Now, I can't remember the last time I had more than like 4 drinks at one time, but I was drinking 2, sometimes 3 drinks every single night just to go to sleep, just from the stress of my job. Yeah, I had an issue with sleep. Couldn't sleep without alcohol. I was doing this up until when I retired. I started getting some issues, though, with my legs. I was getting tingling, numbness in my legs, sometimes my hands, too. I went to a neurologist. Actually, I went to 3 neurologists and got this checked out because I was thinking neuropathy. You know, that's a big thing that can pop up if you abuse alcohol. Now, was I abusing it? 2 or 3 drinks a night? Every single night? Yeah, I might have been. Was I an alcoholic? No, I don't think I was, because when I stopped, it hasn't been an issue since. And I will have the occasional drink now and then, no more than 1, because of my leg issues. So anyway, I went to 3 neurologists. They all said, no, you're fine. No neuropathy here. Couldn't figure out what it was. But all I knew is that when I stopped drinking alcohol, the issues with my legs got better. Now, they haven't totally left. It's still there. It's at a low level, let's say. It's still there. But ever since I drastically reduced my alcohol intake, it's got better. So guys, is this an issue for you? I'm not talking about the legs, just alcohol. You know, you're sitting around all day doing nothing in retirement. Hey, I'll have a drink. Maybe 2, maybe 5. Hey, for those of you who see me for the first time, my name is Duane, and this is a retirement channel for retiring on moderate income. If you think you might like that, think about subscribing and like the video as well. And if you really like it, down in the description below are 2 more ways you can support this channel. So here are the stats for you. Here's number 1. Baby boomers have higher alcohol use than any prior generation. That's big. Dare I say huge. Think about it, guys. Is this you in retirement, sitting around on, say, a random Tuesday? There's nothing to do. Look at the clock, it's noon. Look at the clock, it's 2. Look at the clock, yes, it's finally 5 o'clock. I can have my daily cocktail, or 3. Do you start pushing that back from 5 o'clock p.m. to 3 o'clock? Some people eventually push it back to noon, even earlier, just start day drinking. Yeah, that can be a big issue. Number 2, drinking among older adults has trended higher over the past 2 decades while holding steady for middle-aged adults and falling, actually, for those under 34. I've seen a lot of this on the internet, news, whatever, in the last 5-10 years. Younger adults, they're kind of shying away from drinking. You know, not like, I remember when I was a teenager, I started drinking maybe 16 or 17, but especially in college, man, oh my God, give me a 12-pack. Then we'll go to the football game. Let me sleep for an hour, then we'll start drinking again. Yeah, luckily it was only a college phase. Never drank that heavily again in my life. But isn't it kind of strange? Nothing wrong with it. It's great, in fact. Younger adults, those under 34, the alcohol rates are actually falling. Good for you, my younger viewers. Good for you. Here's the 3rd stat out of 8 that I have. Retirees who binge drink, which is defined as 4 or more drinks for women and 5 or more drinks for men in a single sitting, have more symptoms of depression than non-drinkers do. Now, drinking never really affected me like that, but for some people, it increases your depression. You know, not so much while you drink, although some, you've seen those, some drinkers are happy Happy drunks, right? Others, man, they just want to pick fights left and right. But it's usually afterwards, the day after or whatever. Depression sets in for a lot of those people who drink excessively. You know, might not be you, wasn't me, but it could be you or anyone. Number 4. Now this goes along with the one I just said. However, those retirees who drink in moderation had fewer symptoms of depression than abstainers. What's moderation? Well, it's less than. This was the definition of binge drinking, 4+ a day for women, 5+ for men. So moderation is below that. You know, usually you think like, oh, 2-3 drinks a day. Okay, that was my schedule for 10-15 years before I retired, every night. 2, sometimes 3 drinks, never more than that though. Last time I remember having a hangover, my sister's wedding 25 years ago. So no, it wasn't really me. But if you drink in moderation, you're a retiree, this could not alleviate, but this may cut down some of those feelings of depression. I'm not saying go out and drink every day, guys. I'm just telling you the stats here. And I got all this from Market Watch, okay? They have less depression symptoms than abstainers, people who drink moderately. Here's another stat for you. 20% of those 60 to 64 in the United States binge drink. 20%. 11% of those 65 plus binge drink. You know what? That's a higher figure than I would have thought. Now, drinking in moderation, no. I could see that being much higher than those percentages. But binge drinking, that's higher than I thought. But again, it makes sense, guys. You're sitting around all day doing nothing when you're retired. All right, it's noon. Let's fire them up. Right? I get it. I totally get it. I'm not saying, what are you thinking? I get it. Okay? But those stats are pretty alarming to me, those percentages. Here's another one for you. Retirees show more signs of depression than those that are still working. Again, here's another one that totally makes sense to me. You know, sitting around all day, nothing to do. What do? You reminisce. You reminisce about the good times, the bad times, the regrets. I can see that being an issue. I have friends where that's an issue because there's not much to do all day long. So yeah, I get it. I get it. Here is number 7. Whoop, here comes that wind. Hope you can hear me okay. Older adults take more medications which can interact with alcohol. I remember a couple times when I had a bad cold, taking cold medication and then still having my 2, sometimes 3 drinks per night to put me to sleep. Man, after like a drink and a half, I was flying. Yeah, you just don't realize something is, something as simple as a cold medication. And forget about those other people who are taking more extensive medications, right? You get older, you take more medications. Sometimes those interact with alcohol. Sometimes those can cause falls, confusion, dizziness, car crashes. Be careful, guys. Be careful when you're mixing alcohol with medications. And here's number 8. Older adults don't process alcohol as well as younger people. Hey, I know that now that I hardly drink at all. When I have one drink, now this could be also because I just don't drink anymore. When I have my one drink every, 2 or 3 weeks, I get a little buzz off it. Now, is that my age? I'm sure that's part of it. Or is that just, I don't drink anymore? So there's another thing to be careful of, guys. Just because, when you were 40, you could handle 4 or 5 drinks and not feel anything. When you're 65, trying to do that, that might be another issue altogether. So be careful with that. So there you go, guys. Alcohol and retirement. Sometimes it just doesn't mix. And as always, from the lovely, kind of windy, high desert, as you can see with my down parka on. It's kind of chilly. It's about 28 degrees out here right now in the high desert. For us, unless you're talking overnight, this is about as cold as it gets during the day. Overnight, it can dip into the teens sometimes. Haven't seen it lower than that, although long-term residents, my neighbors up here, have. They said it's gotten down to 10 or like single digits very, very rarely. So anyway, guys, from the lovely high desert where it is kind of chilly, but will warm up later in the day to 60. We got this.